Hello and welcome again to a new video. Today we're playing Japan again in 1.9 and we will conquer Great Qing. The first interest is going to be for recognition, the second for our market opening, then we will research some random taking military to hopefully get military spread for light infantry. Then we build up the navy. 1.9 allows you to build up a navy without any military ships in your market. So we can just build the navy right away, but we probably need some military ships later on. And we also build some guns, because we're going directly for guns. We're improving relations with Russia and also maxing our relations for recognition by getting some investment rights, getting some guarantees and military assistance. You also get some plus relations by using goods transfer and money transfer, so we're going to do this as well. We are transferring a lot of money to get the plus modifiers to get our agreement settled. And then we just wait and see which technology spread happens. So it's actually the right one, because we need this so we get the light infantry in time to attack Great Britain. The next thing we're going to do is raise our taxes to get the rural folk unhappy, so they want to pass tenant farmers or homesteading faster. Now we're going to declare for our usual war goal against the Ottomans for recognition. Let's hope the Brits don't get involved, because we don't actually need a truce with them and they will probably beat us up if we get them involved. It seems like they didn't join, so we're going to add some revoke claims, because they are very good and have no infamy for recognition progress. Let's wait until the war starts and then we attack the USA by liberating the subject. We also can just mobilize our army, and now we can not liberate No, we want to liberate this state. And you can see they have investment rights and also open our market. Sadly, they don't have it as a primary war goal, so we can't just back down, but it doesn't matter, just escalate it and then surrender. You can see the Ottomans are already naval invading our country, so we split up a small army so we don't get the penalty for convoys. And we invade this state to mobilize the army fully. And when the army is fully mobilized, they will join the naval invasion. And when there isn't any army left in their home space, we can naval invade them and rush to the capital. And they can't do anything against it. So the war with the USA escalated. We just capitulate. And they have investment rights and open our market. We can also get this agreement with Russia, because it will increase our relations even further, up to 25 relations. Yeah, perfect event for market opening. Now we can get some better government for homesteading, just going for this. And selected homesteading. You can see our relations progressions with Russia is actually quite good. Already at 16 relations, and now we have to prepare our invasion of the Ottoman mainland. Let's see if we can get another treaty. No, we can't. Now after landing, let's call our army back. So the Ottomans have mobilized all the troops and they will hopefully join the next level invasion and leave the mainland alone. Let's split up the army so we can seem weaker, and then they will have a more likely chance to naval invade us again. Yeah. In the meantime, we're also getting homesteading ready. So now it's a good time to start the naval invasion again. The Ottomans have all called the troops to this front, but they have now cancelled the naval invasion, so they're going back, which is not good. So we hopefully get another naval invasion soon, before the army arrives at their land. Let's wait. Okay, perfectly, they are now gone. We can start recruiting a lot of generals, so we get an instant landing on our naval invasion. We now split up our army and get hopefully a naval invasion on the capital. We also set the strategic target, and let's hope. You can also, if they don't have any troops at home, just push to the capital when they are guarding the capital, which is also a good strategy. But now they have left, and we can just invade them directly. The problem is that our relations with Russia aren't ready, so we have to hold out in the spot for like 1 month or so. We've almost reached the threshold. We can now select our war goals we want to enforce, and in the last second we will peace out. We've also moved our entire army to the reinforcement, but we can now peace out. And we should get recognition in a second. Yes, of course, perfect. And also we want to now trade our relations improvement to an alliance. So we are probably renegotiating. Also get some conscripts to get the military perception, and then renegotiate a treaty. Sometimes you can just get it, sometimes you don't. Also, government swapping, I think, has some sort of involvement, but I think we can just prohibit world market trade. Now we have an alliance. The next goal is to transfer the British East India Company to get more stuff floating around in the market, especially grain, because China produces a lot of grain. We can easily get those and use this to get a treaty with China to transfer all the grain to us, which will radicalate the population and also create a huge deficit on the budget because they have to pay for the transfer, which will eventually bankrupt them really fast. I think this is one of the best strategies right now to get some bankruptcies, because the army costs are reduced by a lot in the new patch, and this is a quite unreliable way. The only problem is that you need a really big grain consumption base in your market, which we're getting by transferring the British East India Company. And now there will naval invaders, so we have to have researched line infantry to hold them off. If you don't have line infantry, you are pretty much lost and probably have to restart. So you need the technology spread in the beginning of the game, and you also need to have Britain not invade the Great Qing and get market opening, which you can do quite often, I think, because in the new patch they don't attack as early, in my perspective, as in the other one, and also later, and you start a war against them in 1838, and then they are confused and won't attack Qing anyway. And this is a strategy. They will also probably most likely invade Russia and don't invade you. But Russia also reinforces your country and homeland, so it doesn't really matter in the end. And also you need to get some better laws, because we want to radicalate the liberation and liberty movement to get a civil war, which would reset our truce with Great Qing, as you probably saw in our last video. And at this point we have hold them off enough time they have some war score left, and we can use the time to naval invade. Before reaching our target, we have to split up our navy and our army because they have some ships stationed, which will interfere with our naval landing, because in dispatch they take a little bit longer and they have enough time to catch up with our ships. So we are going to split up our navy and army and naval invade 2 places. You can see the 24 ships on the left, and yeah, they are moving to this statement and moving back, so perfect. We also need the full stack 4 generals on this army for the maximum progression of our naval landing. And we can also declare our interest on China already, because after the transfer we are directly attacking them, so we don't lose any time. And we're also at the moment a major power, which we get off a little bit reduction in infantry generation. And let's wait a little bit before we can declare a war. We can already transfer the British East India Company, but we don't have an interest declared yet. If you want to maximize this, you should probably... Okay, now we can declare a war. If you have enough infantry to spare, you need probably around 12 or 13 for the strategy. And if you have enough, you can conquer Hebei and already incorporate the state, because when you conquer the Great Qing and annex them, you will lose market access, and you should use Hebei or some state you have conquered as a market hub, so the convoys costs don't go through the roof. But never mind, in this one we just get a starter war goal, so we're going either with market opening or treaty port. We're just going with treaty port because they are less likely to back down. And now we can conquer the East India Company. And now with the East India Company as our subject, our grain production and consumption in our market is so big, we can bulk market transfer all their grain. So we can add goods transfer and really transfer all the grain they have. This works perfectly on Great Qing because they have a lot of grain production. You can't really get too much out of them, because when they don't produce enough goods, there will be a small timeout on the treatment, and they don't lose money as fast because it's always active or not active. Yeah, you can see this will produce a lot of on their side. And for the rest, we are just going below the infamy limit. And also call Russia. At this point, they are worried but not very likely to back down, and Russia will easily beat them up in the war. We can also raise subject payments on the British East India Company to get some more money. Perfect, it didn't back down, which wasn't very likely anyway. And we can naval invade the capital. We won't get through, but we will move some troops away from the front, which will help us. And yeah, it should be pretty easy to beat them up. We have now conquered Beijing, but we unfortunately can't peace out because the treaty of some goods transfer is bugged, so we can't just elect them. So we have to wait until all the war goals are enforced. Perfect. And we also got our treaty port. Unfortunately, we can't incorporate treaty ports and move our market capital there. We can probably get another state, but all other states have a very high incorporation time. I think 20 years it is. So it isn't really feasible. It is also a good idea to get a power block. We're going with Sovereign Empire. Now, after passing agrarianism, we can trade in those loyalists to radicalists. So we can ignite the civil war. We can also applicate from throne, but doesn't really bring as much. We also passed up pounded bureaucrats, and now we can go back to hereditary bureaucrats to get the movement radical, and we will move in and move out parties from our governments to generate a lot of radicals in no time. I think about 20 million radicals is sufficient. You can see it will probably ignite into a civil war. And right as our treaty with Great Qing is cancelled and also the truce, I have to wait a little bit, but then we will attack again. So now our truce will run out in 8 days. And then we can swap our government for another government than Great Qing. Probably go with the Heman. And now we can enforce a regime change, which will reduce the infamy by 25% for 5 years. You only need 20 infamy to spare, so don't conquer too much in the time. We also will get a market opening, which will now produce another 25% infamy penalty for 5 years. And unfortunately, we can't see how much that the Great Qing has, so we have to just roll with it. They haven't declared bankruptcy as of now, but they are probably very close. Another war goal, so we can peace out early. Some other stuff they don't want, and we can call in Russia, make every war goal a primary war goal, so they won't back down. Because when you fight the war, they won't declare bankruptcy, and then you can time the penalties at the same time when they surrender. And our liberal movement is already popping up right before we attack, which is good. Let's speed up the war. And you can see that the liberal movement is pretty much ready to fight a civil war. But before, we have to get the war goals enforced with the Great Qing. And also the British East India Company exploded, which we have to fight as well. Very unfortunate timing, but it doesn't really matter. Let's ignite the civil war and move all our army down to India. We will now retire all our generals and demobilize our troops so they don't get mobilized when we switch the sides in a civil war. I've done it pretty early, but doesn't really matter. So we have to wait and don't let anybody join. So we have an easy war. Right before we will switch sides, add some more generals, and hope that AI doesn't do some stupid things, because they will often resign some treaties. And when you're pretty much before 100 infamy, then they will cut down to size play for some country, because when you resign from a treaty, then you will get some infamy penalty and also relation penalty. Hopefully it doesn't happen, or even if it happens, they will hopefully peace out before. And yeah, so as we demobilized all the army, they can mobilize again, and we can run through the country, or our country, and get the civil war resolved. So right before they will peace out, perfect. Yeah, we have now switched to Empire of Japan, but we think we will go back again. Don't really know why. Yeah, you can see we're now green. And Beijing should now have 0 prestige because of all the modifiers, and go turn to unrecognized regional power. In the meantime, it's also a good idea to get an alliance with Russia, so they won't join against you in the make protectorate play like Beijing. Yeah, let's mobilize our army and hope they back down, which they don't usually do, or they don't usually do it when Russia don't join. If they join, they're very likely to back down. Doesn't seem so. Yeah, then we can also try to add some war goals, which they don't like, so they will back down more likely. Okay, it doesn't seem like they are going to back down, so we have to fight the war, but they are in bankruptcy and don't really stand a chance against you. Now they're ready to peace out, go for protectorate, don't get anything else, why would you? And now there's a trick, because you have so few convoys, you actually get a decrease of liberty desire when you grant the market, grant in the own market. So we get 20 decrease, which is really nice. Unfortunately, it doesn't let us reduce the autonomy. We just need one more extra straight to grant, going with this, and now they're easily a puppet. And we can also grant Jose on some states, so there will be our puppet also. It doesn't really matter which one. But I won't be using the treaty board, because we have to release this as a subject. We don't have a truce with, so as we fought a war with Beijing, we have a puppet truce with Tibet. If we don't, we can also use Tibet, grant them all the states. They don't have them incorporated. We get a very big reduction of infamy, and as also unrecognized power, it will cost us no infamy to annex the whole of South China. We can also grant some parts of Great Qing to the British East India Company. I mean, it's the dominion of, because they don't belong to the Brits anymore, but we can transfer some states, and then if we have transferred enough of them, we can reduce the autonomy. Yeah, like here. Then our puppet. Then we can release Shandong and grant them all the states. We don't have a truce with them, so we can annex them directly. I have also Siam as a puppet, so we can grant them states as well. But I think we can't annex them because of some ways the grant state mechanic is programmed, so you can't transfer those states to Shandong because there is a country in between. Yeah, I mean, we could go through British Disney Company, but I won't do this in this tutorial. You can do this for yourself. So after transferring all states to Shandong, we can start an next subject or goal against them. We could have used Tibet like mentioned, but we have a truce with them. So let's go for the annexation of Shandong. And if they are perfectly back down, here you have it. All of Great Qing as Japan before 1850.